Welcome back to the Roots and Wing podcast, where we talk about all things early childhood, supporting families, building community, and finding the magic in everyday moments. I'm your host, Melanie Little. Today, we're talking about one of the most influential philosophies in early childhood education, the Reggio Emilia approach. Our guest today is Alex Morgan from Boulder Journey School. I actually first met Alex last year when I had the pleasure of participating in a study tour at Boulder Journey School, where educators from around the country come to observe classrooms, engage in dialogue, and learn more about their Reggio-inspired approach to teaching and learning. Boulder Journey School is also known internationally for its teacher education program, where resident teachers spend over a year working alongside mentor teachers while earning a master's degree and a teaching license through the University of Colorado, Denver. As part of that experience, participants even travel to Reggio Emilia for an international study tour to see the schools that inspired this philosophy. Today, we're going to explore what makes the Reggio Emilia approach so powerful and how honoring children's curiosity can transform the way we think about learning. With teachers from the Fox Hill School set to participate in a Reggio Emilia tour study this April, we also wanted to give you an insider view of what we will have in store and highlight the importance of experiencing the Reggio Emilia approach firsthand. Alex, welcome to Roots and Wings podcast.
Thank you so much, Melanie. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to chat with you and think together. And it was so delightful to meet you last year. And I'm just excited to get to continue those thinkings.
It's amazing. So great. For our listeners who may not be familiar with Boulder Journey School, can you tell us a little bit about the school and how the Reggio Emilia philosophy shapes the way children learn there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have been around since 1984 as a school. We encountered the Reggio Emilia approach in 1995. Our directors attended a conference and learned about it, and just really walked out of that presentation, and they thought, this feels right. And so we have been in research for, 32 years now, 31 years, figuring out what it means for us to be a Boulder school inspired by these schools in Reggio Emilia, Italy. And so we welcome children ages 6 weeks through 5 years. And then, as you mentioned, we also welcome teachers in a large variety of places in their study, but formally through our teacher education program during their graduate level of study. What I love about this approach is that every part of who we are as a school is embedded in our research around what does this mean for us as a school. And so, one of the things that within the Reggio Emilia philosophy they are asking us to do is take a look at our own communities and see who are the children with whom we work, and really be engaged with those children, both as individuals and as a collective within their classrooms, within the school community. And then also, who are the teachers we work with? What do we celebrate about those teachers in our community? What do we celebrate about the families in our community? And what do we celebrate about the communities in general in which we live? And so it has been this incredible coming to know ourselves, and within that, knowing that part of knowing ourselves is being in a state of dissonance, because it's in that place where we're open to learning from other people. So, we have our residents who come in and learn from us, but really it's learning with us, just the way it is with the children. So, as a school inspired by this approach, we have the opportunity to really be learning with every member of our community.
I love that part. And as you were talking, I was just thinking it's so great that journey's in your school name, because that's what you're on, is a journey all the time. It just sums
Absolutely.
it up.
And when we first encountered the approach, we were called make a mess and make believe. And it was after coming to know the approach for a little bit that we realized that journey is really it's the appropriate language for what we're doing.
It's perfect. I love it. I love it. Well, the Reggio Emilia approach has become very influential in early childhood education, as you know, but it can also be misunderstood. How do you usually explain it to parents who are hearing about it for the first time?
Yeah, that's such a great question, and it's true. I think that with so many approaches in general, there are misunderstandings. So I'm going to sort of start at some of the common misunderstandings, and then kind of like weave into how we talk with families a little bit. So one of the things that is often sort of a surface level understanding of this approach is that it is child-centered or child-led, and that everything is beautiful, and that we are just doing all of these beautiful things according to what children want to do all day. And that's really a misconception. We are I think the more the language that we use at the school that I think is just a more appropriate sort of way to think about it is that this is a child partnered approach. And so in this, we are centering the interests, the research of the children. We are recognizing that children come to us as full human beings. We're not teaching them how to be human. We are engaging with them in their humanity. And within that, they're coming with their own research questions. When they're infants, those research questions are often, what is this world that is around me? How do I fit into it? How do I reach out and touch something? Where does something come from when it magically appears? These research questions are not sort of magical. They're very human. And then they change in terms of their complexity and as the children are growing. And all of the sort of academic content that it is incredibly important. We live in a world that is based on having access to literacy, right? So it's not that we're saying, oh, we just play, we don't do anything like, with literacy or math, but instead we're really looking at how do we come to understand the world through the language of literacy, through the language of mathematics. And so it is a study of existing in this world, and all of those components are woven into this study rather than being isolated and studied as their own separate actions.
I love that. I love that. That's great. It's what it's all about. That you
It really
It
is.
really
It
is.
really is. All our
Yep,
lives.
it is. It is. It's not just preschool for sure.
Yep. Yep.
One of the remarkable things about the Boulder Journey School is that educators travel to Reggio Emilia on study tours as part of your teacher education program. Can you tell us a little bit about how that happened, how that comes to be that program?
Yeah, absolutely. So our teacher education program was founded in 1999. It was designed to be a program in which teachers would be embedded in classrooms, full teachers. So they are, part of ratios. They are responsible for all of the things that our full-time mentor teachers are responsible for. And they're doing this in conjunction with courses. The courses have all been designed. We've designed them all in partnership with the university so that what the students are submitting as their coursework is part of their daily work. So over the years, when I did the program in 2006, 2007, and I think, don't quote me on that year, it might be off by a couple, but somewhere in there. So when I did the program, the visits to the schools in Reggio Emilia were always a part of what was available with the program, but it was optional when I did the program. And after several years, we really reflected how valuable it is for human beings to have an opportunity one, to see these incredible schools, right? The practices that the teachers have been engaged in there have been going on for decades. There is so much support from the community. So there's really a level of richness to these schools in Italy that it's very hard to find in a lot of places. And so, there is this piece about getting to learn directly from these educators who have been living this for so long. And then there's also an additional piece in which it's just powerful to visit a context that's vastly different from our
Hmm.
own. And so there are folks who are, I had mentioned to you before we started recording that our residents are actually flying out in just a couple hours today. So it's
So exciting.
fresh on my mind. But we have teachers who this will be their first time leaving the country, and what you learn from being in a space that is very different from your home context is um, part of that is that ability to put ourselves into the role of someone who's encountering a world that is so new to them, the way that young children are. And so just seeing how valuable we found these study trips to Reggio Emilia to be, we were able to work it in. So it's actually an embedded part of the program. So, since, gosh, I want to say it was right around like 2010-ish that we started sending our entire cohort every
Okay.
year. Um, yeah.
That's amazing. I started this company, my school, the Fox Hill School. This is our 2026 marks our 30th anniversary of when we started. And about 25 years ago, I had the pleasure of going on a Reggio Emilia study tour, which is what opened my mind to all of this. And I've been obsessed ever since. Um, and like you said, there's something about going somewhere and being out of your comfort zone and learning from the people who have been doing this for so long. Um, and like your students, the teachers at the Fox Hill School, all the stars aligned, and it's our 30th anniversary. The Reggio Emilia study tour this year is during our April vacation, and all six of us are getting on a plane and we're going together to experience this, as a teaching team, and couldn't be more excited. So
It's so
it's
amazing.
so
I'm so
I
excited
know.
for you.
I know. So this next question is a little bit, self-serving. But so what is it like for the first time when you step into the schools in Reggio?
I think that the emotion that stands out to me the most was just a yearning. It was just this is really what children deserve. And here we can see it possible. We can see that it's not magic. They're not sprinkling fairy dust and
Right.
saying magic words. They are real human beings. The children there are real children. The teachers there are going through all of the human pieces that teachers in the United States are experiencing. Some
Yeah.
differences, some cultural, especially right now, some pretty
Of
big
cour
cultural
of course.
differences. But there's nothing that they're doing that isn't possible. And I think that was really, for me, what was so striking was to just feel the possibility that exists within those schools. The possibility for the children who are there, but the possibility also for children everywhere.
Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. So excited for our teachers as well. We have some people who have never left the country. Um, so they just have brand new passports, and yeah. So
I
I
love
know
it.
it's gonna be amazing. And I
Yeah.
haven't been in so long. It's just gonna be like all new for me as well. So um
Absolutely. And one of the things that I kind of jokingly say is, because our whole cohort goes every year, is then, oh gosh, unfortunately, we all have to take turns being
yeah.
chaperones. So,
Oh, rats.
um, exactly. So I've had the privilege of visiting several
Oh,
times
wow.
over the years, and I just take something new every time. Sometimes I've even heard the same presentation presented, but coming to these ideas, I'm a different person on every day because of my context. And so I think that there is a freshness and there are really valuable and rich ideas to take, regardless of whether this is a first visit or, a, who,
Seventh visit.
there are people who exactly.
Oh my goodness. And when you take students or educators on these tours, what tends to surprise them the most about the classrooms or the way the children interact with their environment and the materials?
I think one of the sort of points of dissonance that our teachers feel are some of the differences around things like licensing rules, right? That can be a really big sort of stuck point for looking at. Also, there are just cultural differences. We've had some fantastic conversations with our students around, what does it mean for an Italian school to have a piazza, which is sort of this central gathering space that all of the schools in Reggio Emilia have built in, but it's also the central gathering space that is built in throughout the
Right.
city. That's not something that we have built in the United
Mhm.
States. And so there was a phrase the last time I was there, that the Italians kept repeating, that was shift your gaze.
Oh,
And it's become a mantra for
I like
me.
that.
And so I find that, really inviting, we invite our students to think about if they come in and they're like, well, our licensing doesn't allow this. All right, let's shift our gaze. Let's think about this through, what is the meaning behind this action that we observed that we maybe can't do in that way. And, to take the example of the piazza, right? The reason that the Italians have designed their schools to have these piazzas is because they value having a space where different members of the community can come and gather and share ideas and share work. So, what does that look like for us? What are some spaces that we can think about in terms of being a central space to gather with our community? It's
Doesn't have
not
to
going to
be
be a
exact.
piazza.
Right.
Exactly. So that idea of really having to like shift your gaze, I think is an
I
important one.
love that. That's perfect. I might take that myself.
Please, absolutely. I
Oh my goodness. So the Reggio classrooms often talk about the 100 languages of children. Um, how do you see children expressing their thinking in these many languages in real classrooms?
I think what's so magical about sort of holding this belief about learning is that we have 100 languages to learn through, is that um, once we start looking for them, we see them everywhere. And so how, if let me give you like a concrete
Okay.
example from our school. So, was working with a group of children, and they were telling stories, and we're set up. We have kind of a large movement
Yeah.
space in our school.
Love
We
that.
call it the theater,
So great.
and that's one of my favorites. We're very lucky.
Coming from a school built in
um,
the 1800s, we do not have that space. So,
right. Well, and I think that's part of the
yeah,
magic, right? Is that every space is going to have
something.
its
Yep.
constraints and its
Right.
possibilities. So we were working on storytelling, and one of the children, who was 4 at the time, said to me, Alex, I need a pause. I need to go to my doing place, and then I can come back here to my telling place. And then he went and acted out the story that he was thinking about. And he had to like really physically move. And then he came back and he told me the next chapter of this. So we were telling stories about
Yeah.
seawolves at the
Yeah.
time. Um, and and I was like, that's the 100 languages in action. Like right there.
100%. That's a perfect example.
Yeah, yeah, and it was not, they weren't two different
Nope.
stories. Like it was really just coming at it
Huh.
from these two different lenses.
Wow.
And I think just kind of, thinking about the your school's trip to the schools in Reggio Emilia, I think that as much as we can invite teachers to also be thinking with these 100 languages. Also the last time I traveled, I invited the students I was traveling with, all right, find something in the presentations that you can represent in another language. I also, there's a very famous landmark in the city, the Lions of Reggio Emilia, and there is an incredible, and I'm going to see it. At one point, it was on YouTube. I'll see if it still is to put in the show notes. But it's
I know
the portrait of a
I have a
lion
VHS
is
copy. I can't watch it anymore.
exactly that's what they actually haven't released it beyond
Oh.
on VHS, but I did find it
Oh,
on
you
YouTube
did?
once.
Oh.
So I'll see if it's still up, but if not, I'm going to do my best to do
Oh, that
justice
would
to
be
it.
amazing.
But essentially, the teachers invited these students to form a relationship with the statues of lions that are in the central piazza in Reggio Emilia. And the children, you know, drew them and sculpted them from clay and created costumes of them and danced them and really just came to know these lions in very rich and intimate ways, which in essence is also coming to know my town, right?
Yeah.
Coming to know my
Right.
city, because they are this central figure. And so this was something that we invited our students to do, was form a portrait of a lion. Find your own, and oh my gosh, had some really beautiful things that were shared. We had somebody write a poem. We had a couple people draw
Oh,
them.
wow.
We had somebody sculpt them out of the towels in their hotel room.
Perfect. I love it.
But I think as much as we can also be inviting adults to kind of approach this learning through our 100 languages, as we always are going to get more layers out of it.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And the portrait of a lion that you brought up leads me to my next question and topic, which is documentation is another hallmark of Reggio-inspired schools. Why is making children's thinking visible so important?
I just love thinking about documentation because it's something that at the same time, at the same time, it's something that's very innate to us. Like we make notes, we take pictures of things, jotting things down. But then it's also, this is sort of taking it into a step that is not super innate to humans, in which we're actually going back and revisiting. So I think about documentation as the visual memory of the experiences that we've had. This is the sort of cue to go back and then build on. And so often in traditional education, we're learning things in isolation. The goal is that we're remembering, and I taught fourth grade before coming to work at Boulder Journey School. And I remember, like, I'd always say to my students, like, remember this? And they'd be like, Miss,
Yeah.
no, we don't
No.
remember that.
No
And
idea.
with this, we have this opportunity to invite children to not just remember, but really dive into reliving that story. And so when we can, take photos and pair them with reflections, and really form a story of an experience. And all of this should be done with the children's thinking as a major piece of it, right? Then we're inviting children to say, like, hey, let's pick up from that last chapter. It's a little bit like going back and reading the last few pages
Rereading.
of the
Yeah.
last
Where
chapter.
was I?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Love it. And in a time when education can feel increasingly standardized, how does the Reggio approach protect curiosity and creativity in young children?
It's all about curiosity and creativity. And I think that, this is it's so hard living in a world that really asks us for standardization. Um, and yet it's so freeing to be able to say no to that.
No, thank you.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
And so, with this approach, there is the opportunity for children's questions to be their line of pursuit. So instead of, we're working on, researching rocket ships in space, and there's a child who asks, if I meet an alien who doesn't speak any human language at all, how do I talk to them? Instead of saying, hey, that's not actually relevant to what we're doing, we can say, Yeah, that is a great question.
How
And
would
and
that
it's the same question as like, how do I talk to my friend who has not been listening to me when I say I need some
Yeah,
space, right? It's the same question, but it's just this safer way to process it because we can process it through play.
right.
We can process it through this sort of joyful approach to pulling apart some of the nuances of it, and that becomes a thread. But then there might be another group of children who are saying, "Well, I'm actually really interested in what the planets are made out of." Great. We can also go and be studying this. And really, what are we studying? We're studying physics, right? We're studying like all of these different components. We're studying all the things that standardization is asking us to study, but we're studying it through a lens that makes it really relevant to us.
Easier to understand for sure, or to at
Yeah,
least
yeah.
make it your own learning.
Yeah. And more exciting.
Yeah.
It's just always more fun
Yes.
to learn through the lenses that kind of light us up.
It absolutely. Um, for our parents who are listening, what is something that they can do at home to support the kind of curiosity that Reggio schools encourage?
Yeah, I love this. I think I was thinking about this. Um, I think well, there's so many things, but the one I think I'm thinking about today
That works.
is when your child is playing, watch their play with the lens of what question are they trying to answer right now? And so maybe it's, my own kiddo, they loved to take everything out of the kitchen cabinet and put it on the floor, right? And this was something, it was a daily experience for us. And to be able to look at that and instead of seeing like, well, that's a lot of stuff I'm
That's a
going to have to
mess.
put away, to be able to see that and see that like they were becoming familiar with what our house has. They were becoming familiar with things that make different sounds. They were playing with um, uh, different size and scale as they were working with fitting these pieces together. And so it recognizing that everything that children are doing, it has a purpose. It might not be immediately clear to us what that purpose is, but it's a lot more fun when we can approach their experiences with curiosity than with sort of putting our adult lens onto it and saying like, no, this is messy or whatever, instinct might be
Right.
our first
Why do you
one.
need the entire roll of toilet paper unrolled?
Exactly.
It's not obvious to me.
Yep, exactly.
God, I'm sure they have a good reason. Oh man. So finally, after all of your experiences visiting Reggio Emilia and working with children, what continues to inspire you most about the way young children learn?
Oh my goodness, everything. I mean, really just there's this unapologetic curiosity and there's not the sort of moral judgments that we assign to is this a good question or a bad question? Is this a worthy pursuit or an unworthy pursuit? Um, Children are curious and they wonder about it and they take actions to help them wonder about it. And, in my personal role, I have moved into a role where I get to work with adults a lot. And adults have a much harder time tapping into that because we've been told, no, you don't get to tap into that anymore. Once you hit whatever age it is that you've been told, life is serious and let go of the fun. And I think that children teach us how to learn and they remind us. And I think that really what the teacher's child relationship is not about one person handing information down. It is really about what what are you prompting me to wonder about? And how do we wonder about that together?
That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. That's perfect. That sums everything up.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yay.
Well, I'm just so excited for you. I hope that you will keep in touch.
Yes,
Let me know how the trip is. I'm so curious to know.
absolutely. And vice versa. Yours too.
Yes, absolutely.
even though it's many times. Well, Alex, this has been such a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for talking with me. Hearing about your experiences studying the Reggio Emilia approach, both at Boulder Journey School and during the study groups in Reggio Emilia, really reminds me that teaching young children is both an art and an ongoing act of research. Programs like the teacher education program at Boulder Journey School show what's possible when educators are given time to observe children closely, collaborate with mentors, and even travel internationally to study innovative schools. These experiences shape teachers who see children as capable thinkers and learners. So, thanks again to Alex Morgan for joining us and sharing your insights. This conversation just gets me even more excited to share this experience with all of my Fox Hill teachers. And thank you to everyone who's listening to the Roots and Wing podcast. If today's conversation inspired you, share this episode with a fellow parent or teacher or anyone who believes that children deserve learning environments filled with curiosity, creativity, and possibility. Thanks for tuning in to Roots and Wings, where we grow together and learn together. Alex, thank you so much.
Thank you so
And we will
much.
see you next time.